right, and there we are. Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone. How are y'all doing? I hope everybody is well. I am still in recovery mode. I got to be honest with you. Still not feeling 100%, not even close, but it happens, right? And there's a couple things going on. I'll explain that in just a second. But before we jump into anything, I definitely want to remind everybody that this is a very family friendly oriented channel. I would ask you all to please be decent in the chat. No racism, no nastiness. If you can't abide by those very simple, easy rules, those awesome people lit up in blue with the blue wrenches are going to boot you out of here. So we're not going to tolerate that. There may be trolls that come into the channel. I would ask you to please not engage with them. I'll let my moderators deal with them. They're looking for attention, so let's not give them that attention that they seek. All right. So that being said, all right, let's see who all we got here. Kathleen Stain, Alex is here. Carol Prince, JJ's in the house. Smoking what put outdoors. There you go. Average Joe's Life. Delbert Jones, Mary Taylor's in the house. Ricky Bobby, Kathy's here. The Garden Life. So lots of folks here. Welcome everybody. Glad to have you here joining me. Obviously, I haven't live streamed in a few days. I am still, again, I'm just not even close to 100%. And the problem is twofold. Okay, so twofold. So as I had said, I lost 16 pounds in 3 days. All right. I'm a troll. I troll for preps. That's funny. Nothing wrong with that. That's a good kind of troll. And if you have anything you want to stand out for me, all cap locks, please. Yeah, I'm still recovering. I really truly am. But there's two things happening at the same time. Okay. So like I told you, I lost 16 pounds, and of course, the majority of that I'm sure was water weight. I don't know. I mean, I didn't eat for like 2 straight days. And then I've really tried to change my eating up from that point so that I'm not just, going back to the same kind of eating that I was doing before. And one of the things that I have changed is that I pretty much have not 100%, but pretty much 100% cut out like all chocolate, that type of stuff, and all that sugar. And that is making, I've had like a low grade headache for 3 days. And I think part of that is the fact that I'm like coming off of that sugar addiction. So, my energy hasn't been there for part of because of that reason as well too. But that's part of the reason why I need to put that behind me, if you will. So definitely going, and I like my sweets, and that's like one of my biggest weaknesses. So I'm really, really just trying to eat better and more healthy. And actually, I've only gained back like 4 pounds. So I'm pretty happy about that part of it. So maybe it wasn't all just, water weight after all. So yeah, it's withdrawals. No, and trust me, as a nurse, I get it. So, I'm just trying to be a better version of me, if you will. So, that's kind of where I'm at with that whole thing. But, I know that like my body still needs time to recover from what it just went through. My immune system took a hit big time. I have to, get my, what do you call it? My gut right again, because, that, like I said, again, that took a serious hit. So, it's just a matter of getting back on track. But I, like after yesterday when I had gone out and did my running around and stuff, I was like wiped out. I mean, completely wiped out. So I'm like, man, that's crazy. But it is what it is. And so, it may be a few days more, might be a week. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I'm just going to take it day by day right now and kind of go from there. But my gut flora. You're right. Yep. and replace my electrolytes, right? Get my body back on track. Like right now, I'm actually drinking tea with honey. So, and I will be drinking, my normal green tea here in a little bit. But I had a tea with honey, and I'm like, I'm gonna finish that up first. So, so yeah, so that's kind of what's happening right now. But yeah, just like I said, it's just it's part of. Oh, you like the cup? Yeah, Mountain Girl up in Maine sent that to me many moons ago. It's all part of my Viking and Norse kind of mindset. So I've been drinking a lot of water, Alex. I've been drinking a lot of water. So, but like I said, it's just it's going to take time. My like I said, I've been sleeping a lot. And so I got to listen to my body and just take care of things that way. And that's what I'm going to end up doing. So that's kind of where I'm at with that whole thing. You have to give me a second here. In about 5 minutes, I'm going to call Miss Princess because she went out. So I want to get her back in. And, but speaking of tea, I'm going to get another cup of it. I love tea. I absolutely love tea. So I definitely don't have a problem with drinking a lot of tea. But thank you, Kim. But anyhow, so what do we got? 147 in the chat so far. We got 47 thumbs up. So if you have not shot a thumbs up yet, I'm going to ask you to please do so to show support for the channel. And thank you very much. It shows how easily someone can get knocked down at SHTF. Oh, yeah. We'll talk about that a little bit, too, with this whole situation. I don't think it was the salad, JJ. I actually had a hard-boiled egg in the fridge, and I think that was it. I think the hard-boiled egg, because it had been in there longer than I thought it had been, and I ate it, and I think that's what got me. Because food poisoning, if you get food poisoning, so I think it was like salmonella. If you get food poisoning, generally you get it out of your system within like 24 hours, and then you start to recover. And, it was, 2 straight days. I will tell you this. I told my daughter the first 24 hours, like after I had done the video, saying what had happened, that next 24 hours was probably the worst 24 hours I've ever had in my life. I stopped counting the number of times I went to the toilet after 21. So, I mean, it was like nonstop. And it literally was, I would sleep, I'd get up, go crap, go right back to sleep. And I was pushing water and green tea. Well, let me call her in real quick. Hold on. Come on, girlie. Hella. I figured it was easier to let her out before the stream started because she was really getting antsy then. And so I didn't want to deal with her flipping out. In my opinion, you've recovered quicker than I would have expected. Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's just, it's one of those things you got to deal with. But I'll tell you what, it puts a lot of things into perspective for me, realistically, and it makes me think of, as a society, truly how vulnerable we are. Unbelievably vulnerable. So one of the things I was going to say is an example of vulnerability. I talked about in the video that I did today that Mark had a chainsaw accident. And folks, that's going to happen. I don't care how long you've used a chainsaw. I don't care how proficient you are with the chainsaw. You're going to get kickbacks. And that's what happened to him. He ended up cutting through his, shoe into his foot. Ended up going to the hospital, having to have stitches. They did an x-ray. It actually went into the bone of his big toe. So they were like treating it as though it was a broken foot. But one of the things Mark had said to me, which I can relate, and I'll tell you why in a second, he said, I thought I was pretty good wise medically. He goes, but the gauze and the bandages and stuff like that I've gone through, changing out the dressing and doing all that, he goes, it made me realize that I'm not even close to having enough. When I cut my hand, if you guys remember, I don't know if you can see the scar, starts here and it goes right around there. That when I cut my hand on the roof, when I was painting, and I sliced my hand open, because I fell off the ladder. Really smart, of course, by myself, of course. It's I went through so much gauze and stuff like that, and I said to myself, my God, I don't even have close to enough. And now I want you guys to think of a couple of things with this, and this is a point that I wanted to make, okay? Because I've been doing, I've been sleeping a lot, so I've had a lot. I haven't been online a lot, so I've had a lot of time to think and process things and all those type of things. I think about the fact that as a prepper, I'm prepared to, whatever, this level. Let's just go this level, okay? That the majority of people out there are not prepared at all, anything, with no medical, no medicine, nothing. They're just not ready for anything, because they have right now, anything goes wrong, they go to urgent care. They go see the doctor, whatever the case may be. They have options where they can go and do these things right now, and they can get immediately taken care of. Well, in a true SHTF event, folks, there ain't nobody you're going to be able to go to. You're going to have to deal with these situations as they come up and as they happen. And that, I've been thinking about those type of situations, because obviously being a nurse, it's always medical in my mind. Oh yeah, as an LPN, when SHTF happens, you're the group's doctor. We've actually talked about that. I have a couple other nurses also in the group, and we would be the ones that are the medical team as far as, dealing with those types of situations. Yeah. So absolutely. Yeah. It's like, you're no longer the nurse, you're now the doctor. And anybody that's local, knows that you have medical experience. If something happens to them, they're going to be bringing their people to you. So, those are things that are going to happen, folks. It's just, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But, it's having those medical supplies and having something as opposed to having nothing is going to be such a huge, again, everything that we do as preparedness minded people. Okay. It's always about advantage. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for that edge. We're looking for that advantage. And here's something that, like a conclusion that I came up with through this. Like I said, I've had a lot of time to think over who did your chores for you? Well, the only thing that happened, like the one day when I couldn't do anything, I had normally every night, the puppies, I get them, I bring them in at night, and they sleep in the wolf's lair. Okay. And when this hit me like it did, I just left them out. They didn't come in that night. They stayed out. So they didn't get that normal feeding, right? So the next day, again, I couldn't do anything. So I had called Steve and I said, listen, I got a bowl of food sitting up on top of the tote behind, the battery room. I said, just take that, pour it over the fence for them. People care more about playing games on their phone than preparing for SHTF. Yeah, they sure do. Yes, they sure do. But so anyway, so he did that. They had plenty of water in there, so I knew that they were going to be okay water-wise. I knew the chickens would be okay for a day if I didn't get out there. and take care of them. Actually, on the Saturday, Paul and Barbara had come in, and Barbara had texted. I told her, I said, I'm down and I'm sicker than a dog. And she's like, do you want me to take care of the chickens? And I said, if you would, that would be great. So she went out, she took care of the chickens on that Saturday. By Sunday, I wasn't there yet, but I forced myself to go out, take care of the dogs, make sure I gave them extra food, because I knew, like I said, it wasn't like I could give them a whole lot of attention and stuff like that. Now, last night I brought them in. Tonight I'll bring them in. So getting back on a normal routine as far as with the animals go. But like I said, if I hadn't had Steve here, I would have had to somehow try to get out there and take care of those animals, because the animals still need to be taken care of. You can't just ignore them and not take care of them. So it was really nice to have somebody here to, give me that hand that I needed. And actually, Cheryl had called me, and she was like, if you need anything, just let me know. And she goes, I will, I'll come over. And I was like, no, I'm fine. Does this hiccup put a damper on your Thanksgiving plans for New York? No, it does not, JJ. Thanks for giving that away. Yes, I am planning on going to New York for Thanksgiving. I'm going to go spend time with my family. I'm going to be doing a lot of visiting with people. I haven't been there in a year. So looking forward to spending time with the people that I care about up there. It may take me longer to get up there than normal, but that's okay. I mean, I'm not, I'm not worried about that part of it at all. It is what it is. Steve will be here to take care of the animals. And so, that's, I'm going to, well, the problem with Alex, with the hard-boiled egg, usually when you make hard-boiled eggs, you should probably eat them within 3 days. And I think this one had sat there for almost a week. So it's on me. I mean, this is my own fault. It's a great lesson. Have you seen the latest? They're working on impeaching Trump a third time. Well, first of all, until the Democrats get a majority in either the House or the Senate, there ain't going to be any impeachment. All right. That's not going to happen. So, and when they do, as long as the Republicans still control the Senate, which they'll probably still control the Senate no matter what, there's not going to be any impeachment. It's just it'll be more nonsense and wasting time, like always. But, it's just all games that's being played there on that whole end. Give me one more second, guys. Hold on. There she is. And there's Mr. Clyde. Let's go, baby. All right, yes, I know what you want, sir. Hold on. Yes, sir. Yes. Okay. All right, Princess is back in the house. Oh, actually, hold on. I got to turn the outside light off. All right. Don't need it on. Okay. And there she is. Hello, darling. Did you have a nice outing? Huh? Kisses? Here. Kisses. Come on. Hey. Hey, snap bag. What are you doing? No? Kiss me. Good girl. All right. What do you think of Marjorie Taylor Greene calling? I don't really give a crap about Mary Tyler Greene. And here's the funny thing with that, okay? Look, so the left hated her. And now all of a sudden she's turned the leaf over. They're all nuts. All of them are nuts, okay? Again, all the stuff that's going on with her, with the Epstein files, the leaked emails and all this other nonsense, it's all dog and pony show, folks. It's all distractions. So what's it distractions from, right? Is it distractions to keep you, the viewer, from not paying attention to really what's going on, to the fact that we just had the law. Well, here's an example. Could it possibly be a distraction from this has been the longest government shutdown ever, that it affected people's livelihoods, that, for a period here, there was no benefits for people on food stamps, and everybody wants to point a finger at the other side and say it was their fault when the Republicans were voting to keep the government open, right? Could keep the government open. And then you have, the other one. Well, the whole Venezuela, we'll talk about that too, in that whole situation. So you got that situation. You have, we're blowing up boats in the ocean, right? Where we've done at least 21 now, I think, that we have decided are drug running boats. So, there's that, right? So we got that going on. We have criticism about that. We're talking and saying, the whole Venezuela thing, that whole thing. And then I was going to make a point. I want to talk about Argentina for a minute. Okay. Let's talk about Argentina for a minute. And here's a thought. I was thinking, it's like I said, guys, I've had so much time just to think and think. It's kind of scary sometimes. So Argentina, we do a $40 million bailout to Argentina, right? Okay, so Argentina, after this bailout from us to stabilize their government because they're like going under, turns around, makes a deal with China about soybeans, right? Makes a deal with China about soybeans. And so they're going to be selling soybeans to, China. And people are all up in arms like, well, we got a $1 billion product of soybeans in the Midwest that we normally sell to China, but, with the tariffs and everything like that. So here's a thought. I was thinking about this. Wouldn't it be interesting if instead of selling that $1 billion worth of soybeans to China, all of a sudden we decide, hey, you know what? We're going to sell those soybeans to Argentina, and then Argentina could turn around, take those soybeans, and sell them to China. And why would that work, right? Why would that work? Because there's no tariffs, right? They don't have the tariffs that we would have here. So you don't have that whole, game that we're playing with China right now. So it's a way to circumvent, go around the fence, if you will. Because I was thinking about that, and it was kind of weird that all of a sudden Argentina makes a deal to sell soybeans to China. And so I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen. I'm just saying that is a possibility, right? That is a possibility. So, yeah. So that's, I thought that was interesting. And then we're buying, I guess we're going to be buying beef from Argentina as well. What happened to buying American beef here in America? I'd rather eat American beef here in America. But we have to, let's not forget, right? All the cows and the cow farts, and you have the lunatic liberal left, about climate change and how terrible it is, and it's the cow's fault. So they've, reduced the cow population, and they've made beef so expensive, and all those things. It's just, there's all kinds of just little games being played all the way around, Anyway, but so there's all that stuff happening as well. Could they be distracting us, right, from how bad the economy really is? Because is anybody talking realistically about how bad the economy is? Could that be, anything anybody's talking about? Economy's going down the toilet. Everything is being more expensive. And I don't care who says what about what, All the money we spend on Argentina could have paid off all Americans many thousands of dollars for each person. I don't know if it would have done that, but 40 billion would definitely given people some money here. But yeah. But it's like I said, it's all There's a bunch of games being played all over the place. You know, they're distracting us constantly because they don't want us to look in this direction. They want you to pay attention to the Epstein files. Listen, are we ever really truly going to get all the information on the Epstein files? I doubt it. I doubt it. I don't see that happening. I really don't, because, you know, there are people in high places that are involved in this thing, that don't want that all that information released. So I'm sure, you know, they released whatever it was that they released, but has everything been released? Do we know everybody who's done what and where and how, and, you know, and all those type of things? Really, the only one that suffered, if you will, right, is Prince Andrew, and suffered by what? Had his titles taken away. Oh, boo hoo, poor him, right? These people that have been involved in the sex trafficking of young girls, and I would assume, I'm going to take a shot in the dark here, guys, and this is no judgment on anybody. Kevin Spacey, they said, was at the island. I don't think Kevin Spacey was on the island to get with young girls, right? Young boys, I'm sure, okay? So it's not just girls that are victims here. It's young boys as well. So let's not ever forget that. The flavor of people goes a whole lot of different ways, okay? So, you know, everybody has their thing that they like and whatever. But again, you know, a lot of these people, they'll never see the inside of a jail. You know, when you had, I think they said Oprah Winfrey was another one that was at the island. A lot of Hollywood celebrities were at that island. A lot of them. Okay. You know, they got the plane records, you know, a lot of, you know, where did all the, Hollywood weirdos. Yep. A lot of Hollywood weirdos. But so they got all that going on to distract you right now. And they're playing all these little games to do that. But they still haven't come up with a balanced budget, right? They haven't figured out what they're going to do to get, you know, things squared away, you know, on things. But it's just Bill Clinton was on the island. Yeah, I heard that he was on there as well. You know, and again, you know, who knows what was going on, and for real, like I said, we'll never know the full truth of things. I'm sure there's tapes. I'm sure there's blackmail information out there. I'm sure there is. Okay. A lot of every country higher ups are involved, of course, because you got this guy that had, and where did he get his money from? Right. All of a sudden, you know, this guy had, you know, an island. I mean, that'd be nice to have an island, you know, and he was flying around all these important people on his planes. I mean, I know they said Trump flew on his planes, I think like 3 times or something like that. But they said, okay, stop, baby, stop. They said he never went to the island, but it's all about control, games, and all that type of stuff as far as that goes. So while they're, like I said, they're distracting all of us with that nonsense, they continue to do all these other things behind closed doors. You know, what about all the injuries from this? Do you hear about that, right? Not very much right now, because we're all distracted with this other nonsense, you know? So, you know, there's so many things that have happened. What do you hear? What do you hear about, you know, the people in North Carolina that dealt with the issues there, that are still dealing with the issues there, right? From the storms that happened. You hear nothing, right? But those people are still suffering. The American populace is so easily distracted away from things that, you know, if something happens that, okay, a good example would be, I'll give you another good example. They have proof that one of the congresswomen was texting, that Epstein was texting her during a congressional hearing. I know I get sidetracked real easy. A congressional hearing with Trump, right? And they had, you know, he's feeding her what to say. She's saying, and he's telling her, good job. That's right. Good job. And all this type of stuff. What happens to somebody like her, right? She's involved with that sicko, Big money. He was a huge Democratic donor, right? Huge Democratic donor. So, again, yes, that's the one. Plastic. Yep. So, what's going to happen there? What are they doing about that? Right. So, again, there's a lot of things happening that there's no big jail enough for all these sickos. No, not at all. They need to be put under a jail, you know. And the number of pedophiles out there, they need to just go ahead and put them with the regular population in the prisons and let things work out the way they want. Yeah, Hakeem Jeffries was also part of Epstein. Yeah, they did. They just proved that he had backed him financially. I don't know if you guys just saw this. I just saw this in the news. The DOJ just went after a congresswoman in Florida because she took like $5 million of, I don't know if it was COVID money or what money it was, and used it for her own campaign instead of doing what she should have been doing with it. I mean, she used it for herself. So they've just gone after her. I mean, it's just, you can't make this stuff up. But again, it's like this is all politicians. I shouldn't say all. Let me just rephrase that. A lot of politicians are crooked. I can say that and be right, okay? A lot of politicians are crooked. It's proven over and over and over again because they keep, getting caught and going to jail, or whatever. It's just, it is amazing to me. Absolutely amazing to me. What do we got? 226 in the chat. We got 102 thumbs up, guys. So if you have not shot a thumbs up yet, please do so to show support for the channel. Again, I do appreciate that. It really does make a huge difference with the algorithms. And I thank you for that reason as well. Also, if you are not subscribed to the channel, I would ask you to please subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell icon to get all notifications as well. And I thank you ahead of time. So I'm sure there's some politicians that are straight up, you know what I mean? Like somebody just said, I like Senator John Kennedy. I like him too, because he goes after people and he just says it like it is, which I like that as well. But yeah, I know that Trump was never on the island. Nope, they said that. But the doghouse looks awesome. Well, thank you. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get out there and do what I need to do before I leave. But, I'll do the best that I can. But anyway, again, there's a lot of things going on. We're all being distracted. They don't want us to look at the big picture. They don't want us to see how bad things really are for people. The continuing dumbing down of our children, the continued overuse of these things on our children. I want you guys to think about something. When I was a kid, I think I don't remember exactly how many it was, but I think it was about 12 of these that we got, okay, as a child. You got about 12 of them. And now it's like 36 or something like that. And so in order, and I want you to think about this too, in order for your child to be able to go to school, right, in the public school system, which your child has to go to school. There, you can either homeschool or you put him in school, but either way, right? Either way, your child has to be up to date on these to do that. So tell me that's not a manipulation. And if you don't want your child to have those, right, then your only other option is that you're going to homeschool, and I think that is I have no idea. F4 mechanic. I have no idea. F14A. Sorry. I have no idea if those things work or not. No idea. But you gotta be careful not to set yourself back. That's kind of why, like today, I really didn't do anything. So, right. Yeah, there's another thing. I don't appreciate that the government gives my hard-earned money away to other countries, but that I can't do anything about it. I hear you. I have a problem with that as well. I have a problem with being taxed to death here, right? I own my property, but I never own my property because if I don't pay my taxes on said property, they'll take it away. So that's a problem. My daughter got a religious exemption and she thought of it herself, so proud. She's not religious. That's all right. That's all right. Nothing wrong with that. It works. But that was just for the, what, so. Right. Pelosi said if you tell a lie long enough, the people will believe it's real. Of course. Of course. And there's been all kinds of games and stuff played ever since Trump came on the scene. Excuse me. So, like I said, folks, nothing's going to change. It's going to be the same old, same old. They're going to do the dog and pony show, distract you with this. There'll be the next thing that comes up to distract you, right? Now that all the files are released. Give us a list. Give us a list. Who was there? Who wasn't there? So, it's like I said, just it's ridiculous. I'm so sick of hearing about it. It should have been, and here's the funny thing too. People were mad. I want you to think about this for a minute, okay? People were mad that Trump hadn't released all these files earlier. When a federal judge blocked it, number one, remember that? I remember that. But also, they could have released it during the Biden administration, right? They could have released it during Obama's administration. They didn't do it then. Why not? Right? If they want to be transparent and be above board, why not release it then? So, again, it's just it's a constant, nonstop game that they're playing, and they think we're chumps and that we're too stupid to figure things out, and they want us to be dumb enough to buy whatever they say, but just smart enough to run the machines. That's it. That's all they want. In complete and total control, and you be the, and that's realistically, right? Now let's think about this for a second. What's school all about? What have you taken? Reading and writing, I think, is important. Math, very important as well. But now, like I said, they got rid of cursive writing. Heaven forbid, why would you want to be able to write in cursive? Ridiculous. They've dumbed down the math so much with the Common Core math that, it's ridiculous. Instead of actually trying to use your brain, you got to use this whole long drawn out thing, which is absolutely nuts, and we're sorry, we're not Borg drones. Exactly. But again, what did you, shop class is gone, home economics is out of there, all those type of things. And what did you get out of school realistically? I loved history. I think history is fascinating, so I think that it's important that we pay attention to our past. It is just to keep you indoctrinated and controlled, and that's what they're doing now. I'm going to tell you a story. I'll tell you a story real quick, okay? One of my favorite teachers in high school was my 10th grade social studies teacher. His name was Mr. Cox, okay? So Mr. Cox had a podium in the center that he stood at, all right? There was and then you had, your desk all along the row. So here's his podium. There was a person here. And then, I was the first person. I was the first person in that desk. For whatever reason, that's where I got assigned in his class, okay? When we started going to his class, he had said, the lowest grade I will ever give you is a 50. Because if you decide that you want to do the work, a grade in a quarter, right? So you get 4 quarters in a year. So he said, if you do nothing, if you sit in my class and do nothing, he said, you will get a 50. And so he, true to his word, what happened was that first 10 weeks of school, for whatever reason, when I got to his class, I was exhausted. And I would take my hand like this. I would put my, now he was here. I would turn this way, just like that, and I would go to sleep every day in his class. So the first 10 weeks come, I get my report card, and I got a 50 in his class. Okay. That second quarter, I'm like, well, I've got to start paying attention because I got to get my grade ups because I want to, get past this and all that type of thing. Um, I got trauma and self-esteem issues out of school. RC Kev. Yeah, I hear you, man. There's a lot of bullying in school. Thank you very much for the donation and thank you for the statement. I do appreciate that. Yeah, there's a lot of that happens in schools for sure. Um, so anyway, Mr. Cox would wear these wild suits from the 70s. I went to high school in the 80s. Okay. And early 80s. I graduated in 1984. So he would wear these wild suits from the 70s with the medallions and the whole 9 yards. But his mom had passed away during that second quarter of the year. And so we had got a card and we had everybody in the class sign it. And Becky's like, okay, I'm going to take this card to Mr. Cox. Will you go with me? And I'm like, oh, man, she goes, please, I don't want to do it alone. And I'm like, okay, I'll go with this. So Becky and I went to his room. We said, Mr. Cox, I know that your mom had passed. I think I did the talking because imagine that, right? I said, we're really sorry that your mom passed, and we gave him that card. You don't realize what an effect you have on people by doing something so small and so simple. Okay. After that, man, I was golden. I mean, I was golden in his class. Okay. And what happened was I had so much respect for this guy. So after I had graduated from high school, I would periodically go to his house and visit him because, he lived in town. Like I said, I had a lot of respect for him. And we would just sit there and BS. And he would be like, how's your sister doing? And oh, she's good. And we would just kind of BS. And we'd sit at his kitchen table and drink beer. Okay. And so I was probably at the time, I was out of the military by then. It's like 23, 24, something like that. And I think he had retired already by that point. Okay. And so the one day I go to his house and this guy answers the door. Very, very flamboyant. Mr. Cox was not flamboyant at all. Very flamboyant. And he goes, who are you? And I said, oh, I'm a former student of Mr. Cox. I just kind of want to stop by to say hi. And he said, oh, okay. Yeah, hold on a second. And he goes and gets Mr. Cox. So me and Mr. Cox are sitting at the kitchen table, having a beer, talking, catching up. And this guy, the other one goes off. And at this point, I realize, holy crap, Mr. Cox is gay, right? Never, ever knew it. Never knew it. Ever. Okay. Now, was it ever discussed? No. Did Mr. Cox ever hit on me? No, because he was not that type of person. He didn't need to have the big gay pride flag in his classroom because that's not what he was about. You know what I mean? But he was very respectful. And you know what? I'll be honest with you. I didn't care. It didn't make no difference to me. It had nothing to do with anything for me. I liked him as a teacher. I respected him as a man because he was a decent guy. Okay. So, yeah, I know you guys are going to make fun of his name and stuff like that. But again, I wanted to share that because you don't have to put yourself out there and push it in everybody's face of what you are. Yeah, he was a discreet man. Exactly. He was a head of the teachers union. I mean, we would talk about the fact that certain teachers would get tenure and they would be garbage teachers, garbage, but he couldn't get rid of them because they had tenure. I mean, he talked about all that stuff. No one would guess that I was gay unless you tell them. I'm a widower. By the way. Well, and again, who cares? You know what I mean? My thing is this, guys, okay? Always has been. if you are respectful to me, I'm going to be respectful to you. Now, if I get hit on, I just very politely say, no, thank you. It's not my thing. I'm not interested. And again, it's about respect, right? If you continue to push it and push it and push it, we're going to have an issue, all right? Because I'm going to probably tell you like twice, listen, just chill. I'm not doing it. I'm not my thing. But about the third time, I'm going to tell you to go F yourself, okay? I'm really going to. But the thing is, again, in my experience growing up, living in the city of Rochester, New York, and large gay population there and stuff like that, once you got hit on and you said no, they went on about their business, And my ex-wife used to always say, it's always nice to be invited to the party. It doesn't mean you have to go. And I love that. That's the greatest saying in the world. So you get hit on, take it as a compliment. Who cares? Who cares? So that's just my take. You guys can think whatever you want. It's your prerogative. I know. And here we are. It's time for egg count, and I'm past egg count time. And I apologize. But yeah, live and let live as long as you're not bothering me. Exactly. That's my thing. Same thing. So, all right. So I'm going to ask for another thumbs up. We got 216 in the chat. We got 128 thumbs up. So again, if you have not shot a thumbs up yet, please do so to show support for the channel. Again, it really does make a big, big difference with the algorithm. So I thank you for that reason as well. Also, again, if you are not subscribed to the channel, I would ask you to please subscribe. Make sure you hit that bell icon, to get all notifications as well. And I thank you for that as well. All right. So how many eggs today, folks? Yes or no for Miss Betty White? And how many Easter eggers? So with 3 Easter eggers, just so you guys know. So I'll give you a moment to get your guesses in, and we will go from there. So I'm watching over here to see everybody's guesses. And hopefully I don't miss it if somebody throws up the right number. But yeah, like I said, it's but I want to go back and talking about a little bit more preparedness too. So as soon as we're done with the egg count, we're going to talk a little bit more about that, or the lack thereof for most people, which is absolutely frightening. It should scare the crap out of you, to be honest with you. It should scare you to death. I'm looking at myself here, and it feels like my face is thinner on the video. I'm looking at myself, I'm like, I'm not so fat in the face anymore. I mean, I do feel better. I'm just tired, if that makes any sense. All right, guys, I'm going to give you a couple more minutes here to get your guesses in, and then we're going to go and we're going to start talking a little bit more about preparedness and the people around us. It is thinner. Thank you. That's not a bad thing. All right. I am not seeing any correct guesses today. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the egg count, which I was very surprised today. I'll be honest with you. Very, very surprised. 10 eggs today. Yes for Miss Betty White. And all 3 Easter eggers laid today. So it was 10 yes and 3. So average Joe's close, but not right there. But you look as handsome as always. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. No, I'm not gay. Wouldn't matter if you were. But no, I was very surprised that we ended up with 10 eggs today. But yeah, we ended up with 10 eggs today. All the Easter eggers laid, and Betty laid as well. So that's pretty cool. I was pretty happy about that. But anyway, so with one of the things that I've come to the conclusion of too, just, like I said, again, in my thought process of everything. And I think I've mentioned this probably before. You have lost weight. I haven't been here in a while. Yeah, I definitely did. I definitely did. But we're never going to be ready enough. Okay. I don't care how prepared you are. You are never going to be completely compared. never going to be completely compared or prepared. Um, you know, the only solace that I can take from that, because I think like I said, again, I think about these things and everything going on and what could happen and, and all those type of things, is the only solace that I can take from everything is the fact that me and my group, my family, are going to be in a lot better shape and position than most people. And that's the only thing I really can take from that, which, does give me peace of mind. Preparing gives me peace of mind because I feel like, everything that I do gives me that advantage and puts me in a situation where we're going to be in better shape is about that, situation and getting in a place where we go, okay, we're going to be all right. It just, with the majority of people just not being ready at all, it's frightening. I mean, and like I said, it should terrify you guys as well. Likely we're going to hit Venezuela after Thanksgiving. I hope not. I really hope not. The whole Venezuela situation, it's like, I know we got aircraft carriers in the region now. Like I said, we're blowing up boats. The UN is upset that we're blowing up boats. But we do what we want to do anyway. We don't listen to anybody else. So it's not like they can make us stop. I mean, and that's the biggest thing too. Is like, who's going to stop us from doing whatever we want to do as a country, realistically? And it ain't me. I'm not blowing up boats, but my country is. My government is making those decisions. Again, with, where they spend our hard-earned money, again, the same type of thing. So, but it's just, when the time comes, folks, I want you to really think about how dangerous people are going to be. I have said this many, many times, and I'm going to repeat myself, and I'll probably say it a bunch more down the road. The most dangerous person in a true SHTF situation is the one that is desperate, that is scared, and has nothing to lose. That is your most dangerous person because they don't care. There's nothing left. I want you to think about the fact, like I said, there's going to be injuries. People are going to get hurt. And here's something else I want you to think about. I want you to think about this. Now, you're traveling. If you have a bug out location, right? Let's say you have a bug out location and you're traveling to your bug out location with your family. Let's say there's 10 of you, 12 of you in your group. There's 12 of you in your group, okay? And you're on your journey. Now, number one, you are only going to go as fast as the slowest person in that group. And it probably wouldn't be the children, because kids can be picked up and carried, and you can do that, or you can make them walk some, and all those type of things. It's probably going to be somebody elderly in the group that can't go like everybody else is going, so they're going to slow you down. Okay. Now, sickness happens on your journey. Somebody gets sick, somebody gets food poisoning, somebody whatever, and now they can't travel, right? Now you're stuck wherever you are. Now you are going to have to make a decision at that point. Do we leave this person behind? Do we continue on without them? Or do we wait, see if they're going to recover, right? I want you to really think about that ramification of that. You're traveling light. You don't have a lot of food, right? You are, who knows how slow you're going. You're probably not making 20 miles a day. Probably not. You know what I mean? So, that's going to be an issue. And now you got somebody that's incapacitated, like me getting food poisoning or salmonella or whatever it was that just happened to me. I couldn't do crap for days. I laid in bed, crapping all over myself, and and dealing with that, and just it was awful. Okay, now I'm a stubborn SOB. I'm the type of person, folks, when I get sick, leave me alone. When I'm feeling better, I'll resurface. That's always the way I've been. Okay. Always the way I've been. Um, so, but again, at that point, what do? Do you say, well, I'm sorry, we have to leave you behind. The rest of us have to keep going. We have to keep moving. And then you hope you get better and you can catch up later on. But if you don't have shelter and you can't make a fire and you got nothing to eat and you can't push fluids, like I sat here and I drank a ton of water, because I'm trying to get better. What happens if I can't? You know what I mean? So those are things you have to think about as well. Um, people are going to get injured. They're going to get hurt. And it's like, the medical treatments are not there and you don't have somebody that can treat those injuries and knows how to treat those injuries. Now you're going to get infections setting in. And without antibiotics, people are going to die that way. They're going to, like I said, the biggest killer in a true SHTF event, folks, is going to be dysentery, which means people drink tainted water and they're going to get diarrhea and they're going to crap themselves to death, period. End of story. And there's not going to be nothing anybody's going to be able to do about it. There's really not. So those are things that you got to think about. Now, when you're trying to stock up, right, on things to be prepared and be ready, you're trying to think of everything, but there's so much, it can be very, very overwhelming. So, yeah, don't forget, get used to seeing death. A lot of people can't handle death. That's another thing. That's the thing that I will tell you is what, like for me, being in the medical field, I dealt with death. That was my job. I couldn't tell you the number of dead bodies that I've dealt with, the number of people that I've seen die. I've watched people take their last breath. Okay. That's part of what I did. That was, part of my life, is dealing with death. Most people are not used to death, and everybody handles death differently. I'll give you a good example. When my grandfather, he had leukemia and he was dying and he was getting progressively worse. I had one cousin that he just basically disappeared, and he just, because he couldn't deal with that, with my grandfather, couldn't deal with it. So he was gone. And to me, I looked at it as though that's a missed opportunity because, yeah, the guy's dying, but, share as much time, talk, share things, all those things as much as you possibly can, in that time frame. So, those are things that, like I said, people just don't think about those. They don't think about that. And, you're going to be dealing with the stench, dead bodies all over the place. People trying to kill you for whatever you have, so you're going to need to be getting into that mindset. And so there's the other part there with that as well. Are you going to be able to afford to stop to take care of somebody, or do you have to leave them behind for the betterment of everybody else? In a lot of cases, folks, you're going to have to leave people behind that you don't want to leave behind, but you're not going to have another choice because you need to get to your safe location. And the other part of that, without hope, what do you have? Realistically, you know what I mean? So like I have a lot of group members and they're not, some of them are farther away. They're traveling greater distances to get here. SHTF happens. We don't know what that's going to look like. So are they going to be able to drive? Are they going to be able to get here within that first 24 to 36 hours? We don't know. If they delay in leaving and then all of a sudden now nobody's driving, now they got to come on foot. What's that going to look like and how long is that going to take? But the one thing that they'll have is they'll have that hope because they know if I get there and I'm going to be with my people, I'm going to be safe. I have shelter. I can stay warm. I'm going to have water. I'm going to have food. I have supplies. That's what it's all about. Did you ever see something special when people died? Not really. Not really. It pretty much goes the same way in a lot of cases, to be honest with you. So it's interesting. It is. It'll make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. I'll tell you that. So yeah, there'll be no communication during SHTF. There's another thing. Yeah, that's another one. Not knowing what's going on out there. That's that can be kind of scary for some people. So anyway, guys, I am going to leave you with my favorite saying, which of course is STD: step, thing, and day. One step at a time, one thing at a time, and one day at a time. Whatever you're trying to do in life, it doesn't have to be about prep and living off grid. It's whatever you're trying to accomplish. As long as you set realistic goals that you can reach, if you work methodically to get to those goals, you're going to reach them. Okay. So think about that. All right. Just work methodically at it. Take care of your business. Hopefully, I gave you some things to think about tonight. But there's a lot. There's a lot. And there's a lot of scary stuff realistically that can happen and can go wrong and will go wrong. It's a matter of perspective and what you want to do about it. So I'm looking to have every advantage that I possibly can. That's my goal. That's my mission. Has been for a very long time. So anyway, guys, be safe. I will see you all tomorrow, and have a great day. Prep Nurse 1 out for now.